think it will get to a point where, after playing so many games or being asked to play so many games, that the players will say, I don't want to be part of this, and they'll actually end up like going on strike or not refusing to play in such a big kind of calendar.
Yeah, I think we're close to that. I mean, because it's easy to understand. I mean, if we're asking something, anything, I think it's something general. I think you ask any player, he will say the same. It's not like the opinion of Rodri or whatever. No, I think it's a general opinion of the players. And if it keeps this way, it will be a moment that we have no other option.
Is there a black and white answer to this? Are players playing too much football?
For me, yes, it is. It is. I'll go with what he said, and he looked tired already at the press conference, by the way. But it's a yes for me. Players are playing too many games, and I'm not playing anymore. So I could say, listen, do what you have to do. We're here to enjoy the game, but people want to see players fit on the field, and we're going to have an example now that we're going to show the last 2 seasons of 5 players and how many games they played. Bruno Fernandes, Julian Alvarez, James City, Rodri, Phil Foden. Look at the amount of games. Do the math. And then when you're a guy like Rodri, you know you're going to be in a lot of competition till the end. And you can end up playing, as we're going to see very soon, the amount of game that he can play. A total of 79. Potentially, obviously, this season, potentially. We know that. Do they play too many games? Yes, they do. Too many. And we talk about all the time the physical aspect of the game. And I remember people were talking about having the World Cup every 2 years. We all know why. And I will let Jamie talk about it because I know it's close to what I know what you want to say about. But I just want to say something. You want to play the World Cup every 2 years, or you want to whatever they were doing. People don't think about the mental aspect of the game and what it's asking you, what those games are asking you mentally. Physically, your body will adapt, but mentally it's difficult to recover, especially when you're the guy of that team that everyone always expects for you to deliver. It's not easy. They play too many games for me.
Mentally to recover from what exactly? Sorry, then we'll come to you.
When you're the guy that's supposed to deliver all the time, it's tough. It's tough. You go home, you feel like you didn't obviously deliver, or when you do deliver, sometimes people go overboard with it because you cannot perform without your team. We all know that. But then you feel that need of delivering. At one point, it's tiring. I see players sometimes playing without the joy anymore of the game. You understand what I mean? It's not the same. Well, let's talk about the Euro. Did you like the Euro? The best players were tired. All the best players, I don't care what people said, they were tired. Those guys that reached the 60s, they were tired. I don't want to see that. I want to see the best players on the field delivering. This is why people pay also, and people say that money talks. Okay, when I go and watch Man City at the beginning of the season, I don't want to see Foden on the bench and Rodri on the bench because you have to make sure that they recover at the beginning of the season. Come on, you know.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, before you got into your point, Jamie, sorry, you talked about the pressure. What do you mean by that? We're talking mentally? Did it affect your mental health, you know, when being the main guy? So, no respect to myself. I never got to the level here. I played at a high level, but I was never the main person within the team. What does that bring?
It does affect you. You feel like you let your people down, you let yourself, your teammates, the fans, you take it on yourself. You know, like I'll be honest with you, I still have moments where I'm like, I didn't deliver for Arsenal to win the Champions League. I'm in the final, I had the opportunity to score, I didn't score. I wake up from it sometimes. You think it's easy? It's not easy, the team that I support. It is not easy. Like, I live with it, it is how it is, but it's gonna take a toll out of you. I'm a human being. You think, okay, there is a lot of stuff that are great and everything, but I'm a human being. It does affect me. It does affect people. You lose the final of the World Cup. Hello. You think, if you're David Trezeguet, you miss the penalty in the final, you think he doesn't wake up from that? Of course he does. You think he's happy about it? That, you know, people sometimes associate you to one thing that you did in your career or not. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of, you know, good moments in a career. But does that affect you, especially when you are the guy of the team? Sorry, Jen.
No, I think we've got to be careful not being hypocrites as well. We're doing a show here for the Champions League, for UEFA, and UEFA and FIFA are always trying to sort of make competitions bigger. But I think there's been football for a long time now has been the domestic league. We've had European competition, and we all know there's been an international tournament every 2 years. And I think most people say, yeah, we're okay with that. The problem I've got is when you start creating new competitions that are just for money. Now, from FIFA's point of view, this FIFA World Cup at the end of this season, when you think about what it's about, so supposedly the best club teams in the world getting together to create a tournament, nobody wants to play in it. No one's excited about it. There's no way you can have that tournament there and then you say to the top players in world football, you're only having one summer every 4 years where you're not playing constantly for 12 months. That is not possible. And the best players in the world are getting treated like cattle. But also, the clubs that they play for, I think, are allowing this to happen because for them, it's another money-spinning competition. We can go to the FIFA World Cup. National teams, I'm not a fan of the Nations League. I don't know why that is there at all. That's a UEFA competition. But it's the only way it can be stopped is people as big as Rodri and other big players getting together and say, this is not enough. And forget all this nonsense about how much money they earn. That's got nothing to do with it. As Thierry said, you want to see the best players at their best in the biggest moments. And we're not seeing that because they're just getting run into the ground.
Can I just flip it? Sorry, before you go on, Kate. Just like from a fan's point of view, though, you're talking about the product, and I agree with that. We want to get the best product, we want the best players and go to see them entertain us. But for a fan's point of view, they want as much games as possible. So when I speak to fans, they're always like, the more games, the better.
With the best players involved.
With the best players involved, of course. But we've got to play devil's advocate here. We've got to give it from both perspectives. We're giving it from players, and I agree with everything that you've said. But in terms of the fans' point, they'd rather see their teams play as much games as possible.
But that's where the money comes from as well. Let's not forget that. So when you're talking about these games, they've got to pay an extra, to go to the games. TV subscriptions, whatever you're talking about, the more games, it's TV, it's the sponsorship. That's where the money's coming from.
But when enough is enough. I don't want to see Kane tired at the Euro. I don't want to see Bellingham tired at the Euro. And I'm not an English fan. I don't want to see Rodri losing balls that he never loses normally at the Euro. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see now Lautaro Martinez that played everything being on the bench because he's struggling right now with his fitness. And, I don't want to see that. I want to see him performing. If I'm a fan, I want to see the best team on the field. And we understand that every now and then you're going to trigger some stuff. But you start a season thinking about resting your players, that's wrong.
Very sorry. Just quickly before we go out to Manchester, I guess, quickly for you, what's the ideal number of games? And do you think we end up seeing players strike here because we're so far away from that?
I mean, I had a spell, I think, over a 10-year period where 9 times out of 10 years I played over 50 games for Liverpool. Now, I think I was lucky with injuries, but I think if you're a top player, I think you've got to be looking at 50s a number, and then there may be something on top with internationals, depends how successful you are. But I think the numbers Rodri was talking about were about right. You'd expect to play about 50, 60 games, but when it starts getting to 70, 80, that is too much. And it's not, as Thierry mentioned, mentally, but physically, it's a big problem as well.